not instructed by God. And in chapter 14 here, we can read the story of the Red Sea crossing. Then, verse 1, chapter 14, verse 1. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Tell the Israelites to turn back and encamp near Pihah-Hiroth." It means that they were already going. But what did they do? God instructed them to what? To turn back. To have a detour. Between Migdol and the sea, they are to encamp by the sea, directly opposite Baal-Zephon. Verse 3, Pharaoh will think the Israelites are wandering around the land in confusion. And so what did the Egyptians did? What did they do? They pursued the what? The Israelites. What is the purpose? To annihilate the whole tribe of Israel. To kill them all. And so let's jump to verse 10. Verse 10. As Pharaoh approached with his soldiers, the Israelites looked up, and there were the Egyptians marching after them. They were terrified and cried out to the Lord. What were their reactions? They were terrified. They were so scared. And they cried out to the Lord. They were so angry with Moses, they were ready to pick up stones and stone Moses to kill him. And what did he say? Verse 11. Verse 11. Was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you brought us up to the desert to die? What have you done to us? Why did you bring us up here? Verse 12. Didn't we say to you in Egypt, leave us alone. Let us serve the Egyptians. It would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the wilderness, in the desert. But I want you to notice something interesting here. The promise of Moses to the people. Do not be afraid. In Hebrew, the verb do not be afraid or afraid, the verb here is in imperative. It's like a command that you have no option. Don't be scared. Stand firm. What's the instruction? Do not be afraid. The second is stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. Verse 14. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. This is a very interesting verse here, friends. You know why? Because of the word for, F-O-R. How do you call this in English? Preposition? The Lord will fight for you. When you say, the Lord will fight for you, are you included in the fight? But when the Bible tells us, the Lord will fight with you, are you with God fighting the enemy? This is the preposition that we call pregnant in meaning. It's very unique theology here. The word for. This is very important that we have to pick up from this story. You know why? The Lord will fight for you. It means that you are not involved in fighting. The Lord will fight for you. The word is for and not with. When we use the word with, it means what? We are involved. And the thing is, before they came out of Egypt, they're already armed, right? They have already what? Weapons. But the promise of Moses here, brothers and sisters, the Lord will fight for you. There are things in life that we cannot control, that we cannot do anything. When that comes, the Lord will fight for you. Just like the instruction of Moses, we only need to stand firm. Be still. Have peace. Do not be afraid, for the Lord will fight for you. We have seen the picture of how it looks like and the description of Jesus and the Bible characters of how it looks like when Jesus comes. It's very scary indeed. But this promise here is true to us today. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Verse 19. Then the angel of God, who had been traveling in front of Israel's army, withdrew and went behind them. The pillar of clouds also moved from in front and stood behind them. How many elements? Elements here move. The what? The angel of the Lord and the pillar of clouds. There are two elements that move here. They were in front of the tribe of Israel. And what do? They moved back. Why? What is at the back of the Israelites? What is at the back? The enemies. What is in front of them? The sea. In front of the tribe of Israel, there's water. On the left, on the right. What is beside them? What is on the sides? Mountains. Very steep mountains. 2,000 meters high. So, behind them is actually like a trap. Nowhere to go. That's the end. Finished. But at the back, the angels and the pillar of clouds, they went behind at the back of the tribe of Israel to guard the people from their enemies. And verse 18, the Egyptians will know that I am the Lord when I gain glory through Pharaoh. And in verse 19, then the angel of God who had been traveling, now we jump to verse 23. The Egyptians pursued them, and all Pharaoh's horses and chariots and horsemen, all Pharaoh's chariots and horsemen, all of his soldiers, followed them into the sea. During the last watch of the night of the Lord, the Lord looked down from the pillar of fire and cloud at the Egyptians army, and threw all into confusion. What does it mean? It means that the Egyptians, the enemies, they have seen the Lord. They have seen God. In verse 25, He made the wheels of their chariots come off, so that they had difficulty driving. And the Egyptians said, let's get away from the Israelites. The Lord is fighting for them against Egypt. And in verse 27, then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and at daybreak the sea went back to its place. The Egyptians were fleeing toward it. And the Lord swept them into the sea. The water flowed back and covered the chariots and horsemen. The entire army of Pharaoh that had followed the Israelites into the sea, not one of them survived. In the movies, in TVs, cartoons, when we see the Red Sea crossing, usually we see that the soldiers were pursuing the Israelites, and that the water came to them and covered them and killed them, right? That's how we see in TV. But in the Bible, it was not like that. In the Bible, it was not like that. They were in the middle of the sea. They were confused. They were so afraid. They saw God. They were fleeing from it. They thought they were running away from God, but actually in Hebrew, if you study the original language, they were fleeing into it. They are going into destruction. They're not running away from the destruction. They are running into it, into the destruction. Just like the last day events. When Jesus comes, people will be, they're scared, fear. He will call the mountains and the stones to cover them. Just like this very example or picture of what's going on here in Pi-hahiroth. They thought that they are fleeing into safety, but actually there's no safety at all. Because everywhere there's destruction. The waters flowed back and covered the chariots and horsemen, the entire army of Pharaoh that had followed the Israelites into the sea. And here's the very beautiful picture of what happened to the Israelites. Verse 29. But the Israelites went through the sea on dry ground with a wall of water on their right and on their left. The Lord saved Israel from the hands of the Egyptians. And the Israelites saw the Egyptians lying dead on the shore. Two significant events that took place in Pi-hahiroth. What is this place, Pi-hahiroth? One, judgment and destruction. Who experienced this? Judgment and destructions. The enemies, the Egyptians. How about number two, salvation and deliverance? It was the Israelites. This is the place, Pi-hahiroth. And at the end time, we ourselves will be in this place, Pi-hahiroth. Which side are you on? Which group are you on? Are you on the good side, the Israelites, the children of God, or the enemy? The picture of judgment. The Egyptians pursued and went in after them to the midst of the sea. This is the commentary of Ellen White. Even all Pharaoh's horses and chariots and his horsemen, and it